Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special bonus episode of I'm a Fan of That. I'm planning on dropping this on the Friday, which is also when patrons get theirs, just because I think it should come out sooner rather than later. So this will be fresh. Well, as fresh as possible. I did give it a little bit of time because I wanted to study the fandom as they cooled. Because we're talking about a very wonderful fandom today, which we talk about, I think, once a year at the very least.
And it's always a bonus episode because they always do something crazy.
So we're doing Taylor Swift because there's some Taylor Swift. Wait, should I do the Taylor Swift update? I shot a message to Holly being like, we need to do a bonus episode on Taylor Swift, and Holly just sent me one back going, oh God, what'd she do now?
So, because I went and looked up on the news what was going on with Taylor Swift, and what has happened as far as the news sources, and I use various different news sources because that's the best way to make sure your sources are good. And as far as I can tell, it's a good thing that's what's happened. As far as, like, art, Taylor Swift has brought back the master copies of her own music.
So we'll talk a little bit about this very briefly, but I think it needs
explaining for people who don't know about Taylor Swift.
This is a separate drama that could be its own episode, which we won't get too into the weeds with. But essentially, Taylor Swift's first 6, I want to say, albums, 5 or 6 albums. Basically, the masters got sold when she was moving to a different record company. And it's a big controversy. She was super mad about it. It has formed quite a lot of angry songs on her discography. And it prompted her to start putting out Taylor's versions of those albums. So I think Fearless was one of them, for example. 1989 definitely has a Taylor's version. So if you are scrolling through Taylor Swift albums on, say, Spotify, and you see 2 different ones, and one of them says Taylor's version afterwards, that is what that is. It is an actual re-record that she has done recently in order to essentially, it's to own it again, but also it has a double-edged thing of it made the original masters way less valuable because fewer people were listening to it, and that enabled her essentially to be able to buy them back, which is what happened.
I mean, for people who don't necessarily even interact with Taylor Swift at all, just things like radio plays were Taylor's version. Like, there was, the masters didn't get, it wasn't just the fans not listening on Spotify or whatever. Like, when the songs were used in public spheres, they were also the Taylor's version.
Well, because they would essentially, because they were new drops, they would rise up in the album charts. And so when you would get the plays of the current up songs, they would be the Taylor's versions of these old songs. And so it was this kind of thing. And there's a big controversy about what exactly happened there, because it was Scott, oh God, what's his last? Anyway, the guy who sold them says that he offered Taylor to buy them, and she says that never happened. I did a little bit of digging on it, and it seems that what happened was that he basically used it almost as blackmail, which it was kind of like, well, you can buy them back if you stay with the record company and promise to do another 5 albums with us, which feels kind of grody. So I see why she wouldn't have seen that as a genuine offer to buy the masters. And so that's where I can see the arguments coming from. There's also other stuff involved in it. Again, it's like a whole thing to go down. The important thing to note is that just a couple of weeks ago, Taylor was able to buy her masters back. Yeah. So she now has them. She did a Instagram post where they were around her with the caption, "You belong with me," which is one of her song titles. And she wrote a big letter on her website about it. And this letter is where everything is now kicked.
Before we move forward, it's Scooter Braun.
Well, Scooter Braun was the one who bought it.
Yeah, and Scott Borchetta.
Yes, Scott Borchetta.
There we go. Facts check.
Sorry. So anyway, Taylor Swift bought back her masters, and I was like, oh, that's cool, and then moved on with my life. And then I started seeing the Swiftie fandom. I would say that the fandom is very much split. There are people who are very happy, very excited for her, and then there's other people who are really fucking pissed. So we're gonna talk about the people who are really fucking pissed because it is so interesting.
This is the thing I don't really understand, because like you, when you sent the thing being like, there's stuff going on, I was like, oh, and then I was like I said, this seems okay, move on, that whatever. But yeah, I don't really get why anyone would be mad at an artist taking back their work after whatever this dispute was, you know, ins and outs legally or whatever. There was a dispute and she should own it, is her work.
So,
I
okay,
really...
let's get into it. So basically, the entirety of this whole controversy revolves around the Taylor's versions, which is why I brought them up. Basically, these re-releases got the fandom really hype. They got really excited for basically revisiting old things that they really like. And along with these re-records, she would also re-record and put out vault tracks. So for most artists, musical artists, when they're putting together an album, they have more songs than what ends up on the album. And you kind of sort through and say, of these, say, 20 songs, what are the 12 that are going to end up on the album? You know, kind of a thing. So basically what Taylor did was took all of those songs that never ended up on the album and put them as bonus tracks or vault tracks on the album. So it was a nice little sweeten the deal bonus extra for the Taylor's versions as well. So I think this is also why people really, really enjoy them and take hold of them and love them. So she's been doing these Taylor's versions for a while now, and she only has, I think, 2 left. It's the debut album, Taylor Swift.
It's a Bad Reputation as well as...
And Reputation. And it's Reputation that is at the core of all of this.
Okay.
So Reputation is actually a very loved album in the community. I don't really understand it because it's not my favorite album, but whatever. People really, really love it. I think for Taylor Swift lore, its placement in her trajectory is really fascinating. In our Taylor Swift episode, I talked a little bit about this era, but this is after the Kim and Kanye thing. They put out a song, Kanye put out a song that was basically like, I made that bitch famous for Taylor Swift. She got rightfully angry about it. He then claimed that she knew about it, and they put out, Kim put out a video recording of them on the phone where it seemed like Taylor okayed it. So then people were posting snakes in her social media and were really against her. She felt like this was the end of her whole reign as pop culture princess, and so her album Reputation was all about this destroying of her reputation in this regard, and actually made reference in one of the music videos about what actually happened, which was that Kim had edited the video to make it look like she had okayed it when really she hadn't and had no idea what was going on. So
there's so many layers to this. Like, I don't really understand why.
So I think this is why Reputation is such a loved album in the community, because even though
Taylor taking back her story, and
for other people it represented something for the Taylor Swift eras, and it represented her kind of owning her own story, but also representing which fandom stuck by her during this time and believed her even when we didn't have the full picture, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's why Reputation holds such a particular place for the fandom. So everyone was really hyped for Reputation, Taylor's version, to come out. They were really looking forward to it. And this is where things start to kind of break apart, because we've talked a bit before about how Taylor Swift likes to leave these little Easter eggs for things. What we didn't talk about is how obvious these Easter eggs tend to be. My favorite is when she put out the music video Me for the album Lover. She hadn't announced the name of the album yet, and she said that there is an Easter egg in the music video that tells you what the album name is. Now, this Easter egg is a big neon sign, which is the only color that's bright pink and says Lover. So it's not hidden. It's not. A lot of her Easter eggs tend to be pretty obvious and pretty upfront.
I feel like, given the level to which we have talked about Swifties, some of them, it sounds to me like they're trying to decode the Da Vinci Code.
Yes.
Rather than,
and it is
that's really obvious.
That tend to be the ones that are now currently mad, because they went on a unjustifiable rabbit hole to believe that Taylor's version, Reputation, was coming out very, very soon and was going to be announced at the AMAs 2025. It did not happen that way. And also on Taylor Swift's letter that she put up on her website when she bought back her masters, she mentioned in there, because she felt, I think, like she had to address this, that she had not even finished recording Taylor's version Reputation. She was less than halfway through.
Yeah.
This is what upset everybody. So let me tell you about the Easter eggs they found, because I want to see your face.
Okay. I'm ready.
So
I'm ready for this.
The biggest kind of hint that everyone was using for this was on Taylor Swift's website. The little navigation bar at the top was, and I don't remember the exact ones of these, so I'm going to take a stab, but I'm pretty sure it was about, merch, album.
Okay.
Which they said, oh, that spells out AMA. And then at one point, the store was running a 25% off sale. So it must be the AMA's 2025 that Reputation Taylor's version was going to be announced.
I think the internet has poisoned people. We need to leave. We need to walk away and never come back. That's worse than like the Marvel guy, like whatever, like when all the Marvel fans were like going deep dive into like WandaVision, and then they were really disappointed when their theories didn't happen as if they were going to. Like,
I popped on Taylor Swift's website before this recording in order to make sure that those were the navigations, but the navigations are different now. So I think they might have changed it because of that, or it's because I was in the UK store and maybe the UK store has a separate navigation. I don't really know. But basically it wasn't anything similar to that. So I don't know if they changed it because of this craziness.
I was gonna say to this, even if they had been correct in the Easter eggs, and clearly they're not, clearly that's insane, right? And I was thinking, oh, maybe they, Taylor had left some Easter eggs in some songs and all this sort of stuff, and actually things have changed and now things were different and all this kind of stuff. But that's madness. That's why.
So that
doesn't even make sense.
The only biggest hint that we actually got that it may be coming, that was probably the most legitimate, was that in The Handmaid's Tale, it's a very recent episode. I think it was the season finale that like just recently aired a couple of weeks ago. They played Taylor Swift's "Look What You Made Me Do," which is from Reputation, and it was Taylor's version. So it was a re-record of "Look What You Made Me Do" for that scene. In
the thing that I find, as somebody who has a tangential understanding of TV and film, if you are making The Handmaid's Tale and you want to use that song, particularly that's the thing you want to do, you approach Taylor Swift and you ask for that song.
Yes, which I think is,
and then you do it as a single, like
which I think is, and especially they're gonna have needed that so long ago that I could imagine that she would have recorded.
They'll have known years ago. Yeah.
Maybe just that version, or and then started playing with a couple of the songs.
Mm-hmm. It may have been what triggered her doing half of the album. It may have been something where she was like, "Oh, I could just do that when it's a really popular song," or it may have been she really didn't want them to use the other version, and so she said, "I'll just do this for you." But it doesn't, re-recording one song to be in an episode of a TV
for not
show.
only recording the entire album, but also all of the vault tracks would be insane.
Yeah, and also like that show is famously about the plight of women.
Yes.
It would have been a real shitty move to use Taylor Swift's music that was owned by two men or whatever, like... Of course they were gonna, if they wanted to use that song, if that was specifically the one they wanted to use, they were gonna go and ask her for it. They've got the money to do that. Yeah.
So that was I think the only like legitimate hold, and that came out I think just like a week or two before she announced that she bought the masters. So it was very quick succession of learning that this wasn't going to be happening. Yeah. And the big question looming for a lot of the fan base right now is, are we ever going to get a Taylor's version? And obviously a big resounding answer for many people is, well, why would we? Because she now owns Reputation.
But there's also a reasonable thought from her to be like, actually, I've started doing this, so I'll finish. And let's be honest, it'll make a fuck ton of money if she does. If she re-records it and all the people will buy it, particularly if there's vault tracks on it. Like, essentially what she's doing is doing a deluxe edition.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Which I think what I suspect is probably going to happen, because she already has the debut album re-recorded, but it hasn't been released yet. I have a feeling she's going to re-release that in about, I think it's 2 years. or a year from now or 2 years from now is the 20-year anniversary of that album coming out.
Which would make perfect sense.
It would make a perfect release for that.
That's when you do a re-release anyway, or you do a deluxe edition. Like, loads of bands do that, right? How many versions of, like, the White Album are there, for example? Or, you know, that kind of thing.
So there's one more added element to this fandom angst, which is that not only did she not announce Reputation, Taylor's version, at the AMAs, she didn't show up.
What, does she have to?
No.
Has she got anything there that is an award or anything? Like, she's nothing. If there is nothing for her to announce, or if she's not presenting an award or getting an award, why would she be there?
So a lot of people have kind of turned on her in this regard. I've seen I was scrolling through Reddit as well as Twitter and stuff to get a couple of ideas of, like, because I was seeing people responding to the hate but not the hate, so I was like scrolling through to see if I could, because sometimes when you only see the responses, you're like, is it two people? So I was scrolling through and I did see, like, one person was like, oh, I get it, I'm a hater now. There was another one that was like, oh, she's just in it for the money and now I get it. Like, I see that now. And somebody else was claiming that now that she's with Travis Kelce, she's turned to fame rather than, like, caring as an artist, which I think is crazy because Travis Kelce's been blowing up way more than Taylor Swift since that relationship started.
Are people okay? Because this is, I mean, I could have said for years that Taylor Swift, you can be both. She cares about her music and her art, but she also quite likes having money. Like, obviously, like, what? If she didn't, there wouldn't be Taylor's versions in the same way and stuff like that. I just find that this is absurd. The level of parasocial involved in this. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I find a lot of it's very easy to be sucked into a slightly parasocial relationship with celebrities and all that kind of stuff. You get involved, the fandom gets involved, all this kind of stuff. It's part of it, right? That thing of you want to know somebody's personality. That is part of, I think, fandom of real people, because when you're a fan of fictional people, it doesn't matter so much if you're weirdly parasocial with them, because they're not real. They're not real. You can do what you want with them. They're little dolls. That doesn't work with real people. And so playing these kind of games of, oh, well, she's doing this, clearly this only means this. Maybe she just doesn't want to go to the MMAs or whatever they're called. AMAs.
The MMAs is a very different.
Yeah, that's a wrestling thing. Yeah, maybe she just doesn't want to go. Maybe she's tired. Maybe she's like, actually, it's been a hell of a few weeks. I've bought back my masters and I don't want to go to another award show. She's a person. Sorry, I'm genuinely quite cross about this because I don't understand why you would get mad at a human being for not turning up to something that they weren't necessarily expected to turn up at because you made up something in your own head was going to happen.
So yeah, this is what's going on with the Swifties, and I am incredibly fascinated to see what happens next. I don't know how many of them are the kind that blows up angrily but then sticks around.
I mean, I'm going to be honest, I feel like even though you said it could only be two people or whatever, it still feels like
it seems more than that once I've done a little bit of the work.
It's compared to Taylor Swift fans in general. Like, how many of them actually...
So because I've been doing some research into Taylor Swift for a potential book, I've messed up my YouTube algorithm and I have loads of like video essayists that do Taylor Swift deep dives. I was scrolling through one morning with my husband trying to find like an actual thing to watch, and one of the thumbnails was like, Taylor Swift bought back her masters. What does this mean for what's next? And Tom saw it and he just goes, I don't know, she has more energy to make new music.
Yeah! Do they not want new things? Oh my god.
Which cracked me up, but it was kind of, because in my head it was like, yeah, that's all I was thinking about. Which, to be fair, has been some people's views of it. I think other people think that she might still release it, but there's just not as much of a pressure on it, you know, like she can just kind of do it whenever she wants now because there's not that like...
Which, all of this, like, this is what I don't understand, all of this is good. All of this, like, if you're a Taylor Swift fan, surely every element of this, her getting her music back from people who took it off her, good, that's good. Getting to, like, make new music and have time and energy and not have to be constantly battling against something where they take, you know, you're like, oh, I've got to deal with this. Surely that's good. What this feels like is people having a reaction to, oh no, we were wrong, but they put so much time and energy into it. They can't, like, the sunk cost is too high.
Yeah.
And so they're blaming her for not confirming their thoughts. Because even if she hadn't bought the master's bag and she didn't turn up at the AMAs and didn't announce this album, what would have happened then? Not gonna lie, it feels a bit like when like people are like, I've studied the Bible and I can tell you the world is going to end on this day, and then it doesn't, and then they're like, actually, we were wrong and it's going to end on this day. It feels like that, but like on a much less insane level, but still the same kind of attitude of like, we've studied the texts, and if you look at this part on the website and this thing she said here and this thing here, it all means Taylor Swift. Like, that's what it feels like. It's madness. It's like conspiracy theory level of like, I can't, Swifties, I can't.
So yeah, I think the biggest question for a lot of them is whether or not you're ever going to get Reputation Taylor's version, and I have a feeling at the very least she'll just re-release it with the deluxe tracks. Like, I don't, now she owns them now, so she can just do that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that long ago. Like, re-recording the debut album, I think, is really fascinating, even if she always owned them, because she's grown so much as a singer. Just her chops are way better than they were when she started. So hearing that difference is really fascinating. But Reputation wasn't that long ago.
Reputation, so that would have been 2007?
2017.
Okay. And yes, she's probably improved and changed since then, because that is, still 8 years. But like, the Swifties, are you alright? Like, are you okay?
What I find, just from an analytical point of view, and particularly as a writer, there's something really beautiful about the Reputation album being the thing that people are really pissed off about.
It is like, quite cinematic, isn't it?
Her Reputation album, which was made in response to her reputation falling apart and people turning against her, is now making people turn against her again.
I just remember when the Eras tour was happening, people dissecting every outfit she wore on stage and being like, she's wearing this combination of things this time, and this time she's wearing this top. This
that was the other thing.
And I was like, what are you talking about?
So
she's just wearing outfits.
One of the other clues was that there was 25 lights on the stage when she did the Reputation era. I found this really fascinating, and I'm going to be excited to keep watching, and I feel like I'm going to have to put out this Taylor Swift book sooner rather than later, because Jesus Christ.
I'm fascinated by all of this, but at the same time, it's too parasocial. It makes me feel uncomfortable. It's in the same way that, like, I refuse to join Discord servers and stuff for, like, streamers or YouTubers I like, because I'm like, it's going to get fucking weird in there. And I'm not here for it. I'm just gonna watch them like they're a TV presenter and not engage beyond that. It's fine. It's fine. Oh my goodness.
I'm sure the Swifties will be okay.
They're gonna come for us because I've been so aggressive with. I'm like, guys.
Well, but that's the thing. What has been fascinating is because there is the divide. So a lot of the info that I was getting from certain stuff was from those video essayists digging things apart. And there was, I didn't click on it, so I don't know, but there was one that seemed a little bit more anti. And then there was one that was just more of like a, here's what's going on. And they had the same kind of take as me of like, what the fuck, guys? Like, this is crazy.
I don't care either way. I just think it's a bit, do something better with your time, please. Please. I've got to the point that I can't even be like, oh, it's just fandom nonsense. No, it's not. Go and solve the Da Vinci Code. Go do that. That would be better, Fans
gonna fan, and that's what we're here to look at. So that's been your Taylor Swift update. I will return when there is more.
I'm just gonna shake my head. That's all I've got. That's all I've got now. This has been a bonus episode. I've become infuriated. We will see you guys on Monday. Or Patreon people. You've already heard us.
Yeah.
That's
They've
exciting.
already got it. I'm probably going to put this out like midday, and then the episode comes out like, I think, in the middle of the night at some point. Yeah. So.
And also, if you're not on our Patreon, maybe go over there.
Yeah, you get it on Friday.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. All right. Bye for now, and we will be in your ears again soon.
Bye. Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do.
I don't think they can charge us for using that.